Right. Today we're going to do Transformers Generation 1 characters. That would be seasons 1 through 4 and would be the movie characters too from Transformers the animated movie. Um, Before I get going into it and the tiers, so I grew up on Transformers. It was probably my favorite cartoon growing up. Um, I'll try to rank them only on their show animated series cartoon appearances and not their toys. I had a lot of Transformers toys, but I was also younger when the show was on, and I have an older brother who's 10 years older than I am that had more of the cool old die-cast metal toys. Now, for me as the young kid, I was the one who would break those because I'd try to push things too hard, and he'd get mad at me because I was just a little guy. But yeah, so grew up watching the show, and then it was very frustrating because back in the day, if you missed it, you wouldn't see that episode probably ever because it wouldn't be on rerun or anything. And then at some point, I'm sure either the time changed or they didn't show it or something, but everything after Transformers the movie, so it might have just been season 4, maybe 3 and 4. Yeah, 3 and 4. I think 4 was real short. But I never saw it. Like, never got to see it until I got older. Now, I did not foresee the world changing to where now today I'm sure it's easy to go find Transformers on Tubi or something like that. But I was so dedicated that I found when the internet first came out a website where I could order the VHS tapes. And this was not like some formal VHS tape. This is like me ordering it from somebody who had used their VHS to record the show. So I ended up getting those, and thankfully they did a good job. There were only a couple episodes that the tape was messed up and skipped a little bit, so I didn't get to see it at the time. Since then, I've gone back and seen whatever I missed. But yeah, so I have seen the whole show. Um, Not that it matters with this. I've seen a few of the different cartoons since to an extent. I haven't really watched any a lot. Watched a little bit of Beast Wars, Beast Machines afterward. I thought it was just a totally different show, though it did tie in a bit with the lore. Um, there's been newer versions that I don't know, like Armada, I think was one. Rescue Bots for like little kids. The movies, not a fan of. I know some people really like them or they're just dumb fun. Even the first one, they're like, oh, that's a great movie. And then they kind of got dumb after that. I didn't like the first one. But it's because I grew up on this version. I love Transformers, the animated movie. Some people hate that, I'm sure. But I thought it was awesome, still do. And so the characters in first season, second season movie, which go into 3 and 4, are the ones that I know, and everything after that I'm disregarding here. So that's what this tier list is. The characters they have, you can see they've got the actual cartoon version instead of the toys, so that's helpful. Now I can tell you, I'm not going to know all the names of these. I can just look right off the bat. Um, I might remember them and have a sense of their personality or something and still not remember their name, but if it clicks back in my mind, I'll bring it back up. But I did create a category for those I don't recognize. So if there's one I'm like, I don't remember seeing that one at all, I'll put them in there. Maybe if it's that I kind of recognize them, but I don't really have anything to say about them, I'll put them down there because I don't remember them much. But otherwise, I put it in this. I'll always try to rank as I go, but at the end, I'll do a final ranking. Um, so favorites would be my goats, the greatest of them. Awesome are ones that I really love. Barely not awesome, very close. There's cool, which are like cool characters, but I don't differentiate them too much from some others. Forgettable, those that I know, but I'm like, you don't really see them a whole lot. Dumb or characters that I would be like, why are they on the show? I don't really care. Um, I don't even know if I'll have any of those, but we'll see. And then, like I said, don't recognize. So we've got quite a few. There's 188. I would assume this will be like at least a couple videos. I'll try to give some background on those I know, and maybe not. Maybe some will go fast and we'll get this done quick. But uh, the way that they order them is not alphabetical. That doesn't help me either. I can tell that because Optimus Prime is first. And looks like they did like season 1 Autobots, season 1 Decepticons, season 2 Autobots, Decepticons, etc., etc. So yeah, there's the movie slash season. Then here's the season 4. So the Headmasters and Target Masters, I think they were called. So yeah, and it looks like they've actually got some humans in here too. So we'll try to nail them down. I'm trying to remember some of their names at this point. Okay. Um, I'll also try to calibrate so it's not too heavy. I always say that, like, where I don't have too many in the top, but being somebody who really likes Transformers, I might have more up in that category than not. But we'll see. All right, Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime is the most recognized character. I should have mentioned this. There was one movie I watched recently on a plane. That's where I watch movies I wouldn't watch otherwise. Transformers 1, I think it was called. It's a newer movie. I'd never really heard much about it, but it came out and it was on Cybertron, and it's Optimus Prime when he's Orion Pax, so before he becomes Optimus Prime, and then Megatron as well, and then how they kind of grow up effectively and how it all starts, which way exceeded my expectations. That's probably my second favorite Transformers thing that I've seen besides the original show. So they did a really good job of like explaining more of his background. They do it in a couple of episodes in the show. He was just like a normal worker bot that ended up inheriting the Matrix and became Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots. He's the quintessential noble, reliable, good leader. Tries to make sure he's making the right decisions and not, doing the same thing the Decepticons would do to try to win a battle. So Optimus Prime through the series, like the beginning of the show, was always really cool. Voiced by Peter Cullen, who is one of the best voice people of all time on cartoons. He had a great voice, had a cool transformation. It was always questionable about what the heck happened to his trailer. When you buy the toy, he has the trailer. The trailer turns into, a little battle station and has a roller guy that comes out. It might have been named Roller. But in the show, it just goes away. So you're like, what's going on here? They don't, the sizing and stuff, they don't really stay the same size. I know, like, when they did the Michael Bay movies, they tried to make that a point. Like, well, we're going to make Starscream look super bulky because it's realistic. It's like, it looks stupid, but that's okay. So in the show, they change sizes. There's just, you're a kid. You're like, whatever, it's cool. So aside from that, Optimus Prime then in the movie is to me where he really made his stamp, because he comes out and sacrifices himself effectively, but in the heat of battle kind of had it won. Instead of, accidentally killing Hot Rod or whatever by shooting Megatron, he takes the bullet and then he still knocks Megatron out. At the end, it's got great music while he's doing it. It's really cool and badass whenever he's driving through and taking them all out to get to Megatron. So that's why the movie to me was awesome. Again, some people might watch and be like, "This is really dumb. It's a cartoon, show." There's more death and whatever in that than most shows I would see of key characters and things. So he was awesome in that. So much so that kids got depressed after Transformers, the show continued, and they had to bring him back. And the Return of Optimus Prime, where for some reason he was like on a space shuttle floating into the sun, I think, and they had to save him before it happened, but they got some spores that came back with him, and he had to save the day because everybody got infected. So Optimus Prime, always a classic, and he will be one of my favorites for sure. Okay, Bumblebee. Bumblebee is seen as a very key character today. Has his own movie. He's a Camaro. Switched probably between the Bug to the Camaro and maybe back in a movie or so if it was a flashback. But Bumblebee was always the small, scrappy one. He wasn't like a key fighter or anything that I ever recall. He was more just a kind of fun character to have off to the side. In that Return of Optimus Prime, he turned into a different character. His name was Goldbug at that point. He had been beaten up really bad, and they had to remake him a bit. I don't know if they'll have it as a different character down there, but yeah, so Bumblebee changed, but it's still Bumblebee. The movie, he didn't really do anything except get close to destroyed, but didn't and survived. Bumblebee is somebody I'd have as barely not awesome. He is not one of my favorites. I like him, but it's not like this character. Like if I was creative control of Transformers and they said you got to make a live action Transformers movie, I wouldn't be like, man, we've got to make this thing centered around Bumblebee. But the reason they do is because he had one of the close relationships with Spike, who was the kid on the show, so it makes sense. But at the same time, it's like he's not the most interesting character. But if you're going to make it a human centric story, I get it. And he could move up. Like I really do like Bumblebee, but there's a lot here we got to go through. All right, Ironhide. Ironhide is the tough kind of right hand man of Optimus Prime. He's hard headed, wants to kill Decepticons, maybe more so than some of the others. Tragic death in the movie, getting blasted in the head by Megatron when they steal the shuttle, which was a jarring scene when you first watched the movie. They Ironhide had a really cool voice. I don't remember who did his voice, but it was a pretty distinct sound to it, kind of gruff. He turned into a van, which was a little lame, like just a van. But he was one that I really liked, so I'll have Ironhide in my awesome category. All right, Jazz. Jazz was voiced by Scatman Crothers, who was in movies like The Shining. I can't remember what else he was in, but I remember he was in The Shining. Um, so really cool voice. Jazz always listened to music. They kind of did that a little bit more with Bumblebee in the movies, the recent Michael Bay movies, or more recent. But Jazz always had a cool sound to him. Was like the cool guy on the show. Cool transformation. Was a sweet car, sports car. In the movie, he got eaten by Unicron, but survived as well. So yeah, Jazz is one of my awesomes, I think. All right, Ratchet. Ratchet is the medic. They don't necessarily do the you only have one character who does this thing always in Transformers, which is good. Like he's a medic, but Wheeljack also fixes some people and things. So between the two of them, Wheeljack's a little farther down. But Ratchet's like an ambulance, and he's always fixing very practical, doctorly like. Ratchet also gets killed in the movie, gets blasted on the shuttle, which I feel bad about, but I'll have him as the barely not awesome as well. Definitely a key character. Um, oh, this is Mirage. Mirage, he was like an F1 or like an Indy car. Um, could disappear, like being a mirage. So he would just become transparent, couldn't see him, would infiltrate and steal things or whatever, spy, those types of things. I don't remember too much distinctly about his personality. He was never one on the show where I was like, oh, Mirage, good. Mirage is on. So I'll have him in the cool category. Trailbreaker. So Trailbreaker was I don't even know, like kind of an SUV almost type vehicle, and had a lot of guns. As you can see, he was like had a cannon on his hand or he could turn it into a cannon. He was kind of more of like a hard nosed type personality from what I recall, but he wasn't the most memorable character on the show. I kind of forget that he was even on it, so I'm gonna have him as forgettable. He might have had an episode or two where it's like, oh, it's his specific episode. They did that sometimes. Okay, Hound. Hound was a Jeep. Trailbreaker, I don't remember in the movie either. I don't. He may have survived, or they didn't touch on it, or he died off screen or something. Mirage, same way. I don't remember what their fate was. There were some characters that had like died and they dragged them out. I don't think those were it. And then they might have died off screen if they weren't on the show again, but I don't remember. Hound, I think, survived the movie. I remember him being on the shuttle with Optimus Prime as Optimus Prime was landing, but I don't know if he survived the battle or not. I thought Hound was cool. He's a Jeep, got that cool rocket launcher on the side. Military. He's not super military personality. Like you think if he's a military Jeep, he'd be that really regimented type dude. I don't remember that of him. He was kind of just a nice guy. Uh, Wheeljack. So Wheeljack does die in the movie as well. I probably shouldn't lead off with their fate, but Wheeljack was a key guy in the original show. I want to say maybe he and Bumblebee were in the initial scene, like on Cybertron, getting rods or energon rods or whatever they're doing. But Wheeljack was a little different because you see he's got a faceplate. When he talked, the sides of his head lit up. Why, I have no idea, but I always thought that was different and cool. He's a sports car type dude as well, though I don't remember too much about him like driving around. It was more about him being a mechanic or fixing other Transformers. So Wheeljack, I always thought was kind of barely not awesome. All right, Prowl. Prowl is a police car. Prowl is more of what I would think Hound would be, of like a military type personality, very by the book, very reliable, trustworthy for Optimus Prime. Gets killed in the shuttle as well. That was probably the death on the shuttle that I was like, no, the most. He got hit in the front. You see like his face burn up. It was pretty brutal for a kid, and being a cartoon. But I'll have him in Awesome. I always thought he looked cool. He has these little like horns on his head. His transformation is cool. Not that I'm considering his toy, but I remember his toy very well, the die-cast metal toy, being fun to play with, and his transformation actually looking cool. Some of them were kind of clunky, but his was pretty cool. Okay, this is Blue Streak, I think, and Blue Streak looks like Prowl. Most of this, I think, was, and we'll see this more with the Decepticons, it's a toy line, right? They're trying to sell the toys. And the easiest way to make different characters with the toys is to change the colors of the same thing. So Blue Streak was Prowl as a toy. We'll see that with like Starscream and some of those, where his personality to me wasn't very distinct. His place on the show, I don't remember very much, so I'm going to have him as forgettable as well, especially for the season 1 characters. Like, he just didn't stand out to me. All right, Sideswipe. So Sideswipe, another cool toy, cool sports car, red looking dude. Sunstreaker's next to him, or Sunstreaker, I think, with the ER. Could be Sunstreak, but Sideswipe was the red one. Sunstreak was the yellow one. I had Sideswipe. I don't think we had Sunstreaker. I want to say that. But anyway, Sideswipe was not a super memorable personality. He's kind of fun, but he didn't really like stand out a ton to me. So I'll have him as cool. And then Sunstreak or Sunstreaker. I think it's Sunstreak. That sounds right, or more right. Get the R on right. I remember him more. For some reason, like, he had the more fun personality, or seemed like he stood out to me. So I'm going to have him in the barely not awesome. I thought he looked a little cooler. Sideswipe had the cannon, which was cool, but Sunstreak has the little like things coming out. I think they're like thrusters or something coming out of the top. Sideswipe, I feel like he died. Sunstreak, I don't recall. I feel like he might have been on the shuttle as well with like the Dinobots and survived. Been a long time since I've seen it. Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper voiced by the famous Casey Kasem of Top 40 Radio. Cliff Jumper had a pretty cool personality. He was kind of sarcastic and gruff. You can see, and I think this was the case, the toy was very similar to Bumblebee. So he was the little red beetle. Bumblebee was the yellow beetle. So Cliff Jumper I thought was pretty cool, though. I'm going to have him as barely not awesome. I liked his personality, and he was kind of always willing to fight, even though he was a small dude. I think, yeah, that's got to be Brawn. Okay, so Brawn was a hard-headed small robot as well. He's more of the, like, where Cliff Jumpers kind of go off and, just kill things and be random and spontaneous. It seemed like Brawn was more follow directions, but kind of have some similar personality there. He didn't look the coolest to me. He looked a little boxy or something, and he turned into, I want to say, a Jeep, uh, small like Jeep. Hound was like a bigger military type Jeep. Um, but I think he was pretty cool. I remember him for sure on the show, and he had a cool personality. Uh, okay, Huffer. Huffer is like I want to say a bulldozer or something, like some little, maybe truck, maybe a little truck, like a little hauling truck, I think. Um, Huffer was okay. I kind of forget that he existed, so I'll have him as forgettable. But he was a pretty nice guy type personality, if I recall, kind of fun personality. But I forget some of these smaller ones being on the show that much. Windcharger, Huffer, again, I don't know what his fate was on the movie. Braun got killed on the shuttle, so he was gone. Windcharger died as well in the movie. He's one of those bodies that got dragged out. I want to say he's next to Wheeljack. Just kind of catch it in a small scene. I never found him to be very memorable. He was very forgettable to me, where I'm like, oh yeah. And he just was a car, and he's kind of generic for me. All right, this is Gears. Gears, I think, is another car. I don't remember him that much, but he's one, when he came on, I was like, this guy looks dumb. I don't get it. So I'm going to have him in the dumb category. I didn't know if I'd have any. He's one that I never really cared about or liked. I don't want to say I hope he died in the movie, but I think he might have. He wasn't one of my favorites to see on the screen. Okay, this is Skyfire, also known as Jetfire. Skyfire was the name in the show. Jetfire was the name of the toy. So I don't know the dynamics or the why behind it, but we did have Jetfire the toy. It was a Robotech robot, I think. Like they had taken a Robotech robot and changed it into a Transformer, or just made it a Transformer brand. Save money, rights, something, like that. But it didn't look just like Skyfire. It was different. He had like little antennas on his head and had like a visor instead of eyes like that. The toy was great, one of my favorites. Super cool, but at the same time, it wasn't the same. Skyfire, the show, was a very interesting character. For most of them being very black and white, of like, I'm good guy, I'm bad guy. Skyfire was one that wasn't really sure, or had to figure out who he trusted. He was friends with Starscream, I think, on Cybertron. Ended up coming to Earth, or got stuck in the Nice Cap or something, where they found him a long time later. He trusted Starscream. They kind of tricked him into believing they were doing the good thing, and then I think eventually figured out the Autobots were good. I don't know his fate. Like, I don't remember what ultimately happened with him. He wasn't in the movie. I doubt he was killed if he was, in or not in it, because he wasn't part of the battle. But I can't remember if he comes back later, because there were other characters that kind of did similar things to him. But he was a very big jet, which was cool and could carry other passengers. So I will have him in the awesome category. This is Hoist, or Grapple. Grapple, I think, is this one. So I get them confused because we have both toys, and I'm pretty sure Hoist was the green guy and the Grapple was this guy. Grapple looks like Inferno, who I assume is, I actually think I see him farther down. Yeah. Oh wait, nope. This is Grapple. This is who I'm thinking of. Who's this? This must be. Well, you know what? I'm just going to say it for now. I don't recognize who it would be if it's not Grapple. If it's Generation 1 and is an Autobot, but it's not him. We'll figure it out later. Or maybe we won't. Okay. Grimlock. So the Dinobots were made by the other Autobots in season 1. They saw some exhibit, I think, in a museum with dinosaurs. They had like chips, probably of brains or whatever that they were going to use, or Wheeljack built them in some way. When they were first built, they were not controllable. They were destructive. They I think abandoned the Autobots. I want to say Grimlock challenged Optimus Prime, and Optimus Prime had to beat him in battle to earn his respect. So they were very, you know, tough to deal with for the first part. But they were really, I would say, the main enemy of Devastator, or the one group that could kind of fight Devastator for the Autobots against the Decepticons. So Grimlock, famous for me Grimlock. He always starts things like me Grimlock. And in the movie, in this scene, he actually says me Grimlock King, me Grimlock kick butt, those kind of things. But he's very funny in the movie. He's good in the show too. There's an episode in like season 3 where it's like Grimlock gets a brain or new brain or something, where he becomes incredibly intelligent, like the most intelligent Autobot. And I think he, for some reason, sacrifices that to give it to Computron, which was a combiner down the road. So he becomes normal Grimlock again. But he's heroic. He survives the movie along with the other Dinobots. They do get their butt kicked by Devastator at the beginning, but they come back and are effective at saving some of our heroes and then trying to fight Unicron. Grimlock is one of my favorites. I always liked Grimlock. We had the toy. He looked cool as a robot too. He was often in his Tyrannosaurus Rex form. This is Slag. I think they had a name change to Slag because it means something else that's not as appropriate these days, but I'm not one to believe in word appropriation, so I will just say this is Slag. And Slag is a Triceratops. He's funny. Sometimes, like in the movie, he and Grimlock have some banter back and forth. He was a cool toy. I really liked his Triceratops toy, and I will have him in the awesome category. Boy, they're going to challenge me on these Dinobot names. Sludge, I think. Sludge, Swoop, Snarl. So Sludge was a Brontosaurus. Also kind of funny, there was a scene in the movie where he gets hit in the head by Devastator and his eyes like cartoony pop out and go back in, so it wasn't like they actually came out. Interesting animation decision there. But yeah, he is probably the, maybe most sane of some of them. I would say, like, he always seemed the most normal. I'll have him in the barely not awesome category. I do like Sludge. Pretty cool look too as a robot. I actually like his look as a robot more than I like Slag, but I like Slag as a Triceratops more. Swoop is the pterodactyl. Swoop flies around. Decent looking robot form for it being a pterodactyl. I'll have him in the barely not awesome category. And then Snarl. So Snarl is a Stegosaurus. I don't think he was in the movie. And I always wondered, like, where is he? Why? He was in the show. They were always together. And then all of a sudden he's not in the show. Now, who knows? He could have been off doing another adventure, or they just forgot / decided not to put him in there for animation purposes. I don't know. But I'll just have him in the cool category because I didn't get to see a whole lot of him. I actually did have his toy. I thought he looked pretty cool as a robot. But yeah, he just didn't have as much action as some of the others. So we will let that go. Okay, let's see where this puts us. I'm going to go ahead. These are season 1 guys. They're humans, but they're with Autobots. So I will put them in here. Spike, Sparkplug. No, I'll get it. And then this one I can't remember, but I remember his character. So I will get the Witwikis down here in a bit, and then man, it's like I can remember the episodes he's in, but I can't remember his name. But anyway, so Spike was, I'll have him in the barely not awesome category. He kind of went hand in hand with Bumblebee to me. They were courageous together. They had their moments. His dad was like a reliable, like, hey, I'm trusting these robots. What the heck? So I'll have him as cool. And then I can't remember him, but I'll have. He's not. Yeah, he's kind of forgettable. Like I always, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's in here, which is why I don't remember his name that well. Okay, so that gets us to the Decepticons for season one. There's not as many Decepticons. That was always noticeable. I don't know. It's because like they knew that people don't buy bad guy toys as much or something. I don't find that to be true, but couldn't think of why else they would have fewer. Um, and they were also a little different. Like they're a little repetitive, where you've got some that are the same. You've got some that are like more a part of Soundwave. Got rocking his shirt. The Insecticons, and then you have Devastator, which has like 6 robots that all go into one. So a little weird in how they did that. But you've got Megatron. Um, Megatron is one of the best villains in shows, but they've got more in Transformers. So I'm gonna have him as awesome for now. I'm gonna have to make some decisions on favorites later. They might move up. Megatron is great. Frank Welker's the voice. Dies technically in the movie and becomes Galvatron. So changes voice, looks different, transforms different. Very strange. It's like you want to pick the brain of the people that made the toys. He was a gun, like a gun. You couldn't even do that anymore. But back in the day, it's like kids knew, it's just a toy. But yeah, it was kind of strange because he's the most powerful guy, yet he needs to be wielded essentially. Like he's got to transform and land in, Starscream's hand so he can start shooting people. Little dumb, little weird. And that's some of what kept him from being like my favorite. His transformation was kind of dumb to me. Now, if he was, later on they made him like a tank, well, that makes more sense. Just mount the cannon on a little mobile tank and you're fine. So yeah, just weird decision. I don't know why they necessarily did that, but interesting. All right, Starscream. Starscream is the great sidekick villain that you cannot trust, where it's like always trying to take over the power and lead the Decepticons to undermine Megatron to the point where he tries to let him die in the movie. By leaving him and then throws him out of Astro Train to float off into space forever. Ends up paying the ultimate price by getting blasted by Galvatron. Comes back as a ghost somehow in season 3. Starscream's ghost. I think he like lived in Unicron or something. It is a little bizarre, but it's kind of nice to hear him again. But awesome voice, awesome transformation. Great character. I don't know if he's like the original of that type of villain, where he was doing that to Megatron, but definitely cool. Okay, let me make sure I get these right. This is where the whole color scheme change comes in. When you talk about the toys, we had Starscream and we also had Skywarp. I don't know if we had Thundercracker. So Skywarp's actually first. I remember his color scheme. He's a little, I want to say he's a little like Mirage for the Autobots, where he could cloak himself, which was cool. I liked his color scheme a lot. He was kind of a hardcore dude. I'll have him in the barely not awesome category for now, but he could move. I liked him. And then Thundercracker, the third one, blue dude. I'll have him as cool. I don't remember as much about Thundercracker, but just to differentiate him a little bit, we'll put him in cool. All right, Soundwave. So Soundwave was a tape deck. Again, it's like, one, this isn't going to age very well. Technology changes, but two, why limit yourself and just be a tape deck? They tried to rework it like in the Michael Bay movies where he was a satellite or something, something a little bit more mobile and controlling. He's a communications officer, so you get it. Tries to get the tapes and play it back. It can be super lame. That said, Soundwave's awesome. Soundwave has one of the coolest voices on the show. His transformation's actually cool because he has these guys coming up that are cassette tapes that come out. His toy was cool. Not that we're counting the toy, but they did a good job of like making it something that worked with these guys. He's got the cool cannon. He's got some cool weapons. Very loyal to Megatron. Saved Megatron from his battle with Optimus Prime in the movie. And then, though he was finally okay with them jettisoning the guys who were dying on Astro Train because they needed more fuel or whatever. So he was trying to take over and be a leader at that point, but eventually lost the throne to Starscream. So I will have him as awesome for now. Yeah, I'm just not going to make any decisions just yet on those until we get to the end. All right, Laserbeak. So Laserbeak is one of the cassettes. Laserbeak flies around. There was another, I don't know if he's on the show, maybe he is later. We had another toy. There was Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw was just like Laserbeak, but gold. Laserbeak, very critical. He's a good fighter for his size, but he's also really good at spying. He's the one in the movie who originally figured out that they were going to go to Earth and created the information for them to be able to do their sneak attack and kill some of the Autobots and get into the city. But he was always great in the show. Like he was used quite a bit, very reliable. He and Ravage, who's coming up. I'll have Laserbeak in the Barely Not Awesome category. All right, Ravage. Ravage was like a panther and had little rockets on its hip. You can see it there, rockets on its hip. Had that toy too. I always liked playing with that one. They did a good job translating the cartoon to the cassette there as well. They were real thin, like they had to be thin, but it was still fun. But anyway, on the show, he was always cool. He was kind of, he'd do what a panther does. He'd pounce on you. He'll take on things bigger than him. He's quick. And I always thought Ravage was really fun, so I'll have him as Barely Not Awesome as well. Couldn't talk. He and Laserbeak couldn't speak. They were just, they'd growl or tweet or whatever Laserbeak does. All right. Try not to get these backwards. We got Rumble and Frenzy. Look the same, different color schemes again. Rumble is more prevalent to me, or I remember Rumble more than I do Frenzy. There was a weird, animation problem, I guess, in the movie where at one point it looked like there were two Rumbles, but it was like Frenzy. They accidentally changed the color and changed it back or whatever. But anyway, they were both there and they both fought for Soundwave when Soundwave was trying to take over the Decepticons. But you see that Rumble and Frenzy, their arms can turn into these like pounding mechanisms to make the ground shake. Which is cool. And so I always like that they have this brash attitude. Rumbles, I remember more so than others, or Frenzy. So I'll have him there and I'll have Frenzy in the cool category. I think the name of these three is Reflector. They are a camera. So again, a little lame on the what they transform into thing, and certainly today it wouldn't stand up because nobody would have like a camera that was like that. But there's three of them. I don't remember if their names are separate and then they become one as Reflector, if the main one's name is Reflector and the other two just combine. I don't remember. But I never really liked them. I thought they were kind of dumb, so I'm going to have them in the dumb category. All right. Shockwave was on Cybertron. He never came to Earth, from what I recall, even later. I don't know what his fate ultimately was, but he was a very loyal servant to Megatron. Not as loyal as probably Soundwave, but still someone he could trust, which is why he left him behind to lead the Decepticons on Cybertron. The last we saw of him, Cybertron was getting destroyed by Unicron. I don't know if we saw him after, so it could be that he was crushed in the attack. But he looks really cool. He's got that like Cyclops eye with the cool head, hexagon face, and cool voice. He transforms into a gun as well, like Megatron, but his is like a laser gun. Um, I feel like the times they showed him, he was just like floating himself and shooting. So maybe he doesn't need to be held. But um, yeah, Shockwave is really cool. I'll have him in the awesome category as well. Loved his voice. Um, was a cool character. Um, okay, and maybe this helps explain this guy. Maybe not, but these are, I want to say Seekers, something like that. But I assume the reason they're next to Shockwave is because they are the Starscream type guys in on Cybertron. So for a time when they visited Cybertron, these guys they don't look like jets like we have. They look like alien jets. But I remember them trying to hunt. Maybe they're hunters, something like that. You know, a generic name. Forgettable. I totally forgot they existed until I saw them, and then it popped back into my head. All right. Gonna struggle a little bit maybe with names here. We'll see. Shrapnel, Kickback, and Bombshell, I think, were the Insecticons. Um, this is Shrapnel. This is Kickback. This is Bombshell. So I think that's the order. Uh, I we had we had all three of these from a toy perspective, and I did recognize them. There were times in the show where they actually multiplied. Um, they were like a locust swarm or something at some point. I feel like, and that was where they had gone out of control. But Shrapnel, from a personality standpoint, I don't really remember too much of the difference. It always kind of felt like Kickback was um, the main one, but maybe it was Shrapnel. Uh, Bombshell was more of the he'd like plant mind control devices in guys, and I think he was a little bit more of a wild card. Like he would maybe turn his back on the Decepticons. Feel like there was an episode he did that, but they all died. I don't. There might have been other iterations of them, but they died in the movie to become uh, Cyclonus and Scourge and the other sweeps and what have you. So they got run over famously when they Cup and Hot Rod were going back into the city. Used their ran over their heads to get in the city. But if I were going to rank them, I would say Shrapnel, Kickback, and Bombshell. I'll have them all as cool to start. I don't know that any of them differentiate themselves too much for me, but I liked them. I did like the Insecticons. Thought they were cool. Okay, woo, real tricky here because we've got the Constructicons who form Devastator. We do have Devastator in here as a separate guy, which is good. Should be. Now, which one's which? That I'm going to have to decipher in my head. So, see if I recognize any right off the top. I think this is Bone Crusher. Here, this is Devastator. This looks like Hook to me. I had these toys, which is a little more of what I'm referencing in my head. This is Mixmaster, Long Haul, and then Scraper and Scavenger, I think, are the other two. So I think, okay, I feel pretty good about it. This is Scraper instead. Okay. This is Scavenger. Pretty sure. Scavenger was like I don't even know my construction machines, but it's like a giant backhoe or something. He's got a giant like crane and like pulls dirt out of the ground. There's probably some bigger difference in their personalities than I recall. I do remember them having scenes and lines, but they do blend together for me. Scavenger to me was cool. Most of these will probably be cool, but I don't remember them too much. Mixmaster and then Long Haul. Neither of them I remember having too much difference of personality. I think this is Bone Crusher instead of this one. So Bone Crusher, Hook, and Scrapper. Because he was okay. So yeah. So Scavenger, giant backhoe. Mixmaster was a concrete truck. Long Haul was a dump truck. Bone Crusher was a bulldozer. Hook was like a crane, and Scrapper was like a I don't know. Maybe he was, yeah, he was just like a little scoop as well. Okay, and then we have Devastator. So they combine to form Devastator. Devastator was very dumb, but Devastator was very powerful. Devastator was prominent in the first season when they fought the Dinobots. He was very formidable. Omega Supreme, I think, as well, who we haven't got to, has some run-ins with him. But he was also really cool in the movie because it's like, oh crap, they're forming Devastator. Everybody freaked out, and then he started destroying the city. So Devastator to me is awesome. Okay, this gets us to season 2. I don't know. Let's see. I've been on here. Okay, 45 minutes. We'll go ahead and stop there. We'll start on season 2 fresh. Season 2 is before the movie still, but it was like the new class of toys effectively. So we'll start again next time with the season 2 Transformers.